34. You're designing a base. Okay, by hook or by crook, we got to finish this Masechta tonight. Okay, so I have 75 minutes worth of tape. We gotta make it count. Okay, last night I went all the way to the end, and okay, no comments now. Oh, you can ask questions. No comments. Anything which is more prevalent than its fellow precedes its fellow. Gemara is going to give examples of several, though not all the principles here. Anything which is more consecrated than its friend, precedes its fellow as well. Paramashiach, so really we're not going to talk about Todir. It's a famous principle, of course. Todir V'Sheno, Todir Kodem. Whatever's more prevalent comes first. That's why we make Kiddush on Shabbos, for the Kiddush of Shabbos, for Kiddush on Yom Tov, we say Ritzei before Yalav, all that kind of stuff, okay? Para Mashiach Para Eido Obdim. What's the concept of Kom Kiddush Mechavero? Whatever's consecrated, the more consecrated goes first. So if you have the para to be done by the Kohen Gadol, and because he made a mistake, and the para to be done by the Eido, by the community, because the Sanhedrin made a mistake, Omdim, they both stand in front of you. Para Mashiach, Kohen Gadol's Kedusha superior, therefore his bull comes Kohen L'Pareda before the bull of the congregation. The Chol Ma'asav in all the deeds of which have to do with the korban. Each the man comes before a woman because he's holier than a woman. Lachios to support him. Now the Bavli seems to mean Lachios means to keep him alive, right? If you have a choice of saving the life of one person over another, you save the man over the woman. But the Yerushalmi doesn't learn that way. The Yerushalmi learns us to do pure, sustenance. Sustain men or before women. Okay? He also given back his lost object prior to a woman. On the other hand, a woman, obviously because a man is more responsible for his own welfare, so therefore he has to return his lost objects per first. On the contrary, a woman comes first in terms of clothing, because obviously she needs clothing more to a greater extent than men, right? And to extricate her from captivity. There's much case where there's captives, you redeem the woman for the man. There's much name on the kakol where there's the danger of rape, which can either be heterosexual, homosexual rape. So in each claim, you get the man out before the woman, because obviously the rape of a man is considered to be more, more perverse than the rape of a woman. So you take her out first. Okay? Says the moral Zem should actually be. I didn't change when I was preparing. It should be. This is. That's Bnei Moshe makes it change. This is the person, the Kohen Gadol comes who is considered to be holier and takes precedence because he atones for, whereas the congregation is atoned for by him. So obviously he's in a higher stature, right? For the person who does atone, which come before the people who are atoned for. We find that alluded to by the Avot of Yom Kippur. The Kippur Batova Besova Kol Klai. So first the Kohen Gadol atones for himself, then for the house of the priest, and then for the entire congregation of Israel. Nidvas Moshe v'Nidvas Nosi. What if you have in front of you a voluntary korban brought by the Kohen Gadol and a voluntary korban brought by the king? Nidvas, it should be Nosi Kodemes. The mistake here, it should be Nasi, because the Nasi is superior, right? Because he's the king, he's the boy, he's the man, right? Nidvas Siba and Nidvas Nasi. If you have, on the other hand, however, the Nadava for the Tzibur and the Nadava of the Nasi, you have the voluntary korban of a community, and voluntary korban of the king. So Nidvas here, the Shar Tesrol changes it. The Nidvas Tzibur Kodem, the Nadava of the Tzibur comes first. Why? Because the Tzibur is obviously the source of the Nasi's significance. So the Tzibur comes before the Nasi. So it's kind of paradoxical. It doesn't really follow the principles of our Mishnah of Tadir and Mekudesh, but it follows the principle of the relationship between the Kohen and the king and his nation. Oh, thank you. Okay. How was it?
Very good. Went all the way.
Went all the way. Okay, great. Okay. Nidvas Mashiach, Nidvas Sibor, Mikodem. Who, when you have the Nadava, the voluntary carbon of the Kohen Gadol, the Kohen voluntary carbon of the community, who comes first? Let's learn out from here. Nidvas Mashiach, if you have the Nadava of the Kohen Gadol, and Siri Avodah Zorah, Kohen Gadol brings voluntary carbon, and you have a sawyer which is being brought by a person who, by the community, by worshiping Avodah Zorah. I think it's a community. The community because worship Avodah Zorah. What comes first? So it says the Gemara, Syria Avodah Zorah, it could mean the Syrian for Avodah Zorah come first. Why? Because the blood work of the goats brought when the community served Avodah Zorah, it was brought into the sanctuary proper, not just outside. Now, the only reason why the carbon of the tzibor for atoning for Avodah Zarah comes first is because the blood goes in to the sanctuary. Adam Rus teaches us that in normal circumstances, Nidvas Mashiach and Nidvas Tzibor, if you have the Nadava of the Mashiach and the Nadava of the Tzibor, Nidvas Mashiach to go them is the Nadava of the Kohen Gadol goes first. So it's interesting because when you have the king, according to Shai Terestrol's correction, which is based on the Bavli, by the way, when you have the king and the community, the communal carbon comes first. When you have the Kohen Gadol, the community, the Kohen Gadol's carbon comes first. Unless it's Soyer Avodah Zarah, when the blood work goes on the inside, then that comes first. Okay? So it says, now we're going to more general questions. There was the bull brought for Avodah Zarah when the basin paskins runs about Avodah Zarah, the Soyer Aboimon, it's accompanied by a Soyer which is a Chatos. Now the par is an Ola, okay, and the Soyer is a Chatos, right? The Chatos Acheres, and besides that, there's another Chatos. So look at this way. What's the order, right? The other Chatos is like nothing to do with this episode, just Tam Chatos. So a par kodem l'Soyer. But the Zohar is unique. It's interesting because normally you have you usually bring a chatos before an olah, because first you do kapara and then you do the appeasement afterwards. But by Avodah Zarah you do first the olah and then the chatos. It's unique in that respect. At least I don't remember if you do it that way, but at least in the Pesukim it's phrased that way. The olah comes before the chatos. I think so. So a parkoim l'soyer. The Soyer koyim l'chatos acheres. So there's a paradox here. The par should come before the Soyer. Okay, yeah, I got it. The par should come before the Soyer, right? Because that's the way it is in the Psukim, right? The Ola before the Soyer. The Soyer koyim l'chatos acheres, and the goat, which is the chatos, should precede the other chatos, right? Because it's part and parcel of this par, right? So it should take precedence. Yet chatos acheres kodem is the par. But although in the sequence of the korbanos of Avodah Zarah, internally the oil should precede the chatos, but in contradistinction with another korban, that other korban, which is the chatos, should precede the oil. You always do chatos first when you have two korbanos in front of you. So what order do you do here? It's a paradox. The oil of the Avodah Zarah has to precede the chatos, but the chatos of the other korban should have to precede this ola. So how do you work it out? So it says more. Rabbi Yisrael says, since the Soyer can only be brought after the par. Yeah, here it is. The Soyer can only be brought after the par. In other words, the goat, which is the chatos by Avodah Zarah, is unique, can only be brought after the bull, which is brought as an ola. So there, Kamisha Kodmo par so par. Since it can't be brought, it's missing its proper time until the par is brought. Kamisha Kodmo par. So it's as if it's obviously the par is considered to be first in the order. The chatos acheres kodems the par. That's why the chatos for whatever other korban you have present in the base of mikdash comes before the bull. Okay. The par of Avodah Zarah, of course, comes to before the goat which comes with it. Mimnei Shekam Mikra Kaz, and the Psukim comes first. Rabbi Shmuel V'Achoy, the Rabbi Brechior, Shmuel the brother Rabbi Brechior, boy, he asks a question, Mi'atov, that's the case, show Rosh Chodesh. Now, although it says Rosh Chodesh here means any Yomtiv. Yikdom L'Sar Ba'imo, let the oilos brought on any Yomtiv, starting from Rosh Chodesh, of course, it's the first one in the hierarchy, right? First one, not in the hierarchy, but in the order of the patriarchs, in Pinchas, right? Should always come prior to the Sar Ba'imo, right? Should always come prior to the Sar, which comes a day, go before the goat. Mipnei Shekadmo, right? Because it comes first in the pasuk, right? It says first the psukim, and then it says in all the Payol time. It says at the end of their list of korbanos, sir chatas, sir zim echad chatos. All right, the sir zim echad chatos is always at the end of the list. So their olah should all be their chatos, right? Yeah, we know it's not true. How come? So it says Rabbi Ba Mori. Rabbi Ba Mori, probably it's Rabbi Av Mori, because that's usually his name all over Shas. I didn't notice before, but his name is usually Rabbi Av Mori. So then Rabbi Av Mori said, Yochil Chatas Didei, Leis Yochil, you can't say that. Chatas Didei Choser, you know, there's unique language by the Chatos of Avodah Zarah. By the Chatos of Avodah Zarah, that code it says the word Chatos is spelled Ches, Tes, Sof. It's missing the Aleph. So it's missing the Aleph, so therefore it's a deficient Chatos, and that's why it's brought after the Yoilah. But by any other Korban, on any Yom Tif, the Chatos must precede the Yoilah. And besides that, to boot, I'll give you a nice other drush that says more. Olas Hatamid Yasevenis Ko, it says the Sirizim Echol Chatas Al Olas Hatamid Yasevenis Ko. So it means the Chatos of the Yontif is juxtaposed to Olas Tamid, right, which is the first korban in the morning. So the pasuk here is going to say really that even though I just told you all about the Olos brought on Yontif, the Chatos is brought in juxtaposition, meaning first after the Tamid in the morning. So therefore, the Chatos always precedes the Yoilah by all the korbanos. Okay? Korban Isha. You have korban man, korban a woman, korban each korban is sacrificed, the man's first. That you say b'shush name shavim, where both korbanos are the same. That part of a zegdi, but the woman is bringing a bull, and the man is a skinflint, and he's only bringing a goat, right? In that case, they say ki the mare pinchas b'shem Rabbi Yeshua. Let's say Pinchas named Rabbi Yeshua. Eved maybe par, even if a slave brings a bull, Varabo maybe, Gilin Ephraim and changes to Gedi, and his master brings a goat, so the Eved Koden L'Rabba, the Eved's korban comes before his master's. Why? Because it's a more choshev a korban. Okay? The Tzina time we learned over there, Par Mashiach, Par Aida, we learned over there that if the par of the Kohen Gadol is standing, the par of the community is standing, Par Mashiach Koden Par Aida Chol Ma'asov. The par of the Eidah comes before the par of the Kohen Gadol comes before his bull comes before the bull of the congregation for all mean things. Now that teaches us nothing actually, because they have to say current for both. So the Shadis just wants to change this price. It says wrong price. So what the price we should have brought down is the price which says somewhere par Kohen Masir, the bull comes before the goat, which of course is what we're saying, that even if the bull belongs to the slave and the goat to the master. Gilin Ephraim is the term Shai wants to put in the word the chula here, and it says at the end of the price, it says something about the bull coming before the goat. Anyway, the same idea. Okay? Says the Gemara, Ma'aser Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Kiva. Now, this is a couple of cute stories about fundraising for tzedakah. Okay? Ma'aser Rabbi Elazar, and the best of my knowledge is they're not in the Bavli. I don't know how to say the best of my knowledge, they're not in the Bavli. Ma'aser Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Kiva, Sha'olu Chulas Antiocha. The one once went to a place named Chulas Antiocha. Aleis K'mageves Chachamim to go raise money for the Chachamim, meaning they're raising money for their yeshiva. V'avataman Chad, there's a certain individual there, Abba Yehuda, his name was Abba Yehuda, and Ovid Mitzvah Be'ayin Tova. He used to do mitzvahs with a kind eye, and he used to give a lot of money to tzedakah. So because of once he went, he lost his property. Rabbi saying he saw the rabbis coming to collect money for him. He became here in Sioish means he gave up, but here it means he got embarrassed. Ola basically went back to his house, but and his face looked sick. So his wife said to him, why is your face ill? So he said to her, our rabbis are here, but any of them I say I don't know what I'm going to do, because I have no money to give them. So Ishto, look at this, she was more righteous than him. You see that? The wife was more tzaddikas. She said to him, he got one field left. The same lamb. Go into the half and give it to the Chachamim. Baruch Vasakeni when did it? He came to his the rabbis, and he gave them the money. The spouse over saying the rabbis died, and he said, Abi Yehuda, Hashem should fulfill your losses. As they went, Yarad Lachrosh went down to plow until Chatzis in this half field. While he was plowing, B'so Chatzis in the half of his field which remained him, Shaka Paraso, his cow's leg sank in the ground, Finishbra, and it broke. So Yarad Lachrosh went to take his cow out of the ditch. Illuminated his eyes. So see why he found the treasure. He said, for my own good, my cow's leg broke because I found this treasure. When the rabbis came back next time to collect money, so Shalom Love, they asked about Abi Yehuda. They said, Abi Yehuda, how's Abi Yehuda doing? They said, Man Abi Yehuda. Who can go see the face of Abi Yehuda? He's become so great. Abi Yehuda Teroy Abi Yehuda was blessed with oxen. Abi Yehuda Gamloy Abi Yehuda is blessed with camels. Abi Yehuda Chamroy Abi Yehuda is blessed with donkeys. Chazar Abi Yehuda K'moshoyer and they summed up and they said, Abi Yehuda came back to his previous stature. Uvoy to Rabbi Seinu came to his rabbis to show B'shloimah. And that he came to the rabbis, and that's how they were doing. Armin required for their health. Armin they said, "Ma'abi Yudavid." So they said, "What are you doing? How are you doing?" Armin they said, "Osta tfilos seichem." Your tfilos made peiros upere peiros. Right? We made your fruit. Your tefillah was very much accepted. It made fruit and fruit of fruit. Armin so they said to him. In response, they said, "You should know." Even though other people gave more than you last time around, right? Because he was destitute last time around. We put you at the head of the list, meaning we made you the honoree at our annual banquets, right? So Voshivu they took him. Voshivu at Slum they sat him by them. And they, in other words, he sat with them on the head table at the dais, and they said concerning this pasuk, Matano Dom Yarchiv Lo, the gifted individual will expand for him. Place him before great men as it did for him. And we sat with the great men. Right? Rechia Barboha went to collect tzedakah, to stipulate out how much tzedakah people should give. Behem Beis Medrash Shod Tveria, in the Beis Medrash in Tveria. Vavu Tamon in the Bar Silnei. There was a certain person from the family of Bar Silnei who pasuk hadal litra dahav, and he pledged a litra of gold, which is of course an astronomical sum. The Tlo Rabchia Chibgarba took him, Shivo had someone put him by him. There was a game, a chair on the Mizrach, right? Because so from this we see the Makar putting the president on the eastern wall of the shul, right? Makar love Pasuk, as he said about him, this Pasuk, Matzah Adam Yarchiv, the gifted individual will expand for him. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish ala Botzer. Shimon ben Lakish went to Botzer to collect money. There was the master cheater there, master, con man. Says the Gemara, Chas leid lover amoy. Chas Shom. This fellow was not a great cheater. Hello, rather Shem Ram mitzvahs. He would cheat in doing mitzvahs. How so? He would make matching pledges. Pasak, you would see how much the tzibur is going to give. Whatever they gave, he would match that. The Torah Shimon Lagish took him, or Shiva put him by him, and the Korah love a pasuk Gazette, he said about this pasuk, Matzah Nodam Yachib Lo V'Goymer. From this we see that you honor people who give lots of money. Says Mar Ish Kaidim Lisha, a man comes before a woman. Okay, that's true, and both are for sustenance, or they're both for clothing. Hareshoya, and then we have the order in our Mishnah: that man is first for sustenance, woman is first for clothing. However, Hareshoya what if the man needed sustenance and the woman needed clothing? In which case, we said that the man is superior for sustenance, the woman is superior for clothing. So what do we do then? Nishmina Me'adot from here. The Rabbi Shimon Levi Shem Rabbi Antigonus, Rabbi Shimon Levi said name Antigonus, Ksus Eshes Chaver, the clothing for the wife of a Talmid Chacham. Versus B'chaya Amoretz, the livelihood of an Amoretz, Ksus Eshes Chaver Kodem Chaya Amoretz, the clothing of the wife of Talmid Chacham comes before the sustenance of Amoretz, B'nei Kvodo Shel Chaver, right? Because of the honor of the Talmid Chacham to whom she's married. So what's clear is that that's only where she's the wife of the Talmid Chacham while the Talmid Chacham is alive. But if there was all things are equal, we have to support a male and we have to buy clothing for a female who's not married to a Talmid Chacham. In that case, the man is supposed to take precedence over the woman. The man to sustain as opposed to the woman to clothe. Okay? Says the Gemara, you're enjoying this Gemara, aren't you? No, it's okay. You look like you have some comment you want to make. Okay, good. Okay, save it for your speech at the Siyum. Says Mara further. Not this week. His loss and his father's loss. Shaloko Demis. You look for your lost object before you look for your father's lost object. This is, of course, in the Bavli as well, right? We even had it early in the Yerushalmi. Avidosav Avedos Rabbo, his lost object and his Rebbe's lost object, local his comes first. Avedos Rabbo, his father's lost object and his master Rebbe's lost object. Sharabbo Kodemis, he looks first for his master's Rebbe's. Shavi Vevil Chayil Amaseh, his father brought him to this world's life. The Rabbo Shlim Do Chachma, but his Rebbe taught him Chachma, Hevil Chayil brought him to the world to come. The Rabbo Shlim Do Mishnah, now clarify tomorrow, what by Chachma mean, his Rebbe taught a Mishnah below Rabbo Shlim Do Mikra. It's a fascinating thing, I guess, because Mikra you really can learn on your own, I guess. A Mishnah that you need the Rebbe, and therefore the Rebbe is critical in terms of, he takes precedence over the father. Now if his father was like his Rebbe, then Avi Koidim. So then his father's lost object precedence. Says Gemara, Mahoil, what difference does it make if his father is of great stature? He didn't teach him, right? We're assuming that he learned from Rebbe. So what difference does it make his father's stature? Tell you about you are Hakoretz Hatov to the individual. Says more very interesting answer. This is a classic Yerushalmi. It's on the Bavli. It says here, Amar Rabbi Yisrael Rabun said, he learned half of his learning from his Rebbe and half from his father. So the fact that it's his father pushes him over the top. Okay? Now, what about this? This is amazing. Your father lost an object. You learned half of your learning from your father. When your mother lost an object, she's no longer married to your father anymore. She's a grusha, right? Now, theoretically, if you didn't learn anything from your father, didn't learn anything from your mother, so flip a coin. Who's you go for first? If they're divorced. If they're married, the mother is also under obligation to the father, so go after the father's lost object for first. But if it's they're not married anymore, so flip a coin. But what if your father also learned a lot of Torah from? Okay? That's the question. So says Gemara, Mikoidem, Aviv Hushikdom. Does his father come first? Oh, actually, a kol Talmud at the end, do we say no? His father doesn't come first just because no, I taught him half his learning, unless he taught him all of his learning, and we don't know. The Gemara does not resolve that. Similarly, Avedis Rabba Shchatzi Talmud Himenu, the Aveda of your Rebbe from whom you only learned half of your learning, right? Not most of your learning. Avedis Him when your mother lost an object, Grushim Milav if she's divorced from your father. Now, the fact is, Grushim Milav obviously doesn't really matter in this case. Mikodem. So who comes first? So Rabu Sheikdom, does it mean his Rebbe comes first? Or do we say no, he's not to be truly his Rebbe? Until all, meaning I assume most, of his learnings from this individual.
Might matter if the father has custody instead of his father's custody.
So we're talking about an adult though now. Okay? Avedos of Avedas of Imo, of Avedas Avi, of Avedas Rabbo. All these lost objects got lost at once. This is a real klutzy family, right? He lost something, his mother lost something, his father lost something, his Rebbe lost something. Shalokodem, his comes first, and the Sharat so changes because he adds in Shalokodem L'Rabbo. His comes before his Rebbe's, and the Rabbo, getting back to the text itself, Laviv, his Rebbe's comes before his father's. Laviv Limo, and his father's comes before his mother's, and the Imo, I guess the Imo we'll take out. Okay. Limo, period. We'll take out, try this over Imo L'Rabbo, because obviously the mother's the lowest on totem pole. Says the Maharal Sam below Mastisa, he is an obvious, it's a Mishnah. Haish Koidem Leisho Lachios, Lashiva Veda. This is logical hierarchies, right? And the man comes before the woman, right? In terms of Shavas Aveda, not just in terms of sustenance. So remember, it says the morning, I might have told Shem Rabbi Shom that that's only true if there's no Rebbe there. Once there's a Rebbe there, so then there's no subsequent hierarchy. But maybe the hierarchy only extends to who goes first out of two. But once there are three, or four, maybe, in that case, the hierarchy determines not who goes first, determines who goes first, but not then who goes second, who goes third. That's Chish's price, is that the hierarchy continues down the line. Okay? Says the Gemara, comes tell you, if you Rabbi Shami and Miss Rebbe is there, there's still a hierarchy. Okay? Who v'imo, similar case, who v'imo v'Rabbo v'Aviv omni Mashevi. He and his mother and his Rebbe and his father are all in captivity. Now here normally the wife comes before the husband, right? Because women get redeemed first out of captivity. Who comes he comes before his mother. V'imel Rabba, his mother comes before his Rebbe. If Rebbe his Rebbe comes to his father, before his father. Says the he is not also our mission. Says the mother, the woman comes before the man. Vis-a-vis clothing, and taking out of captivity. Says more again, the same thing we say before. I might say that's when his Rebbe is not there. Becomes to say even his Rebbe is there, the mother takes precedence before his Rebbe, and there's even Rabba Muvak. You redeem your mother from captivity before you redeem your Rebbe from captivity. Still making faces.
No, I just want one.
Oh. Okay. So says more. We can erase that from the tape if you want. Says more. Puvi Mova Viter. Ezu Rabba, who's your Rebbe, Kol Shalim Del Chachma. So the first opinion is Kol Shalim Del Chachma. Shalim Del Chachma. Or the second opinion, now, actually that's just an introduction. So what's called Shalim? We had this back in Bometzia and in the Yerushalmi as well. Ezu Rabbo Shalim Del Chachma, who's this Rebbe taught him Chachma. Kol Shepasach Lo Tchila, anybody who's the first one taught him Aleph base. They taught him the way to learn. Neither Meir says. Rabbi Yehuda Rebbe says Kol Sharov Talmud Menor, anybody from whom you learn most of your knowledge. Rabbi Yehuda Kol She'er Einam Mishnah. So even if he taught him one Mishnah, that's enough. Illuminate one Mishnah for him. That's his Rebbe. Rabbi Yehuda said, Halacha can be Shomer Kol Talmud Rov Talmud Shomer Kol Sharov Talmud Menor. The halacha is like he who said, the one who taught you most of your learning. Why is he not Taylor Rabbi Yehuda? Now, let him say Rabbi Yehuda said that statement. So there's more is tani umachli, because there's some version in which the names attached to the different opinions are switched. So therefore, just so it's as opinion which he passed like, not the individual was passed like. Rabbi Lezer was machmir and korah, maybe passed this way. Rabbi Lezer was korea al shapos lo tchila. He ripped kriya on his olive base Rebbe, the one who taught him the fundamentals of learning. Shmuel revealed the shoulder, which is a sign of Avelis, which is archaic. We no longer do it. Al Sheir ain't of Mishnah, so some illuminated his eyes in one Mishnah. Umar ain't of Mishnah, so what's the case? Illuminate him. Rabbi Sabrina says illuminate him the following Mishnah. It says when they open the doors in the base of Mikdash, Maftech Echad Yerli Lamis Beis Shal Shechi. One key goes all the way down to your armpit, and Echad Pasek Kevon, one key opens directly. So what somebody explained to him, what is one goes down to the armpit? He would stick his hand in an amach shlo yiftach. In other words, as we learned when we learned there in Talmud, so one guy opened the front of the door, and the other guy will put his arm through a hole in the door and open from the other side. Okay, so those are the two openings. Rabbi China Mistamach Rabbi Chia Barbar. Now we know Rabbi Yochanan, we had it earlier in Horayos. Rabbi Yochanan writes Kriya, Torah Kriya, and Rabbi China was not as Rabbi Muvak. He was Machmir. Even though you only have to do Kriya on your Rabbi Muvak, he did it even as Rabbi Shena Muvak. Who is this Rabbi Shena Muvak? Rabbi Chanina. And it says, this story actually also in Bometzi as well. Rabbi Chanina have a Mistamach Rabbi Chia Barbar, but Rabbi Chanina was leaning Rabbi Chia Barbar, but Tzipori, Chamaklamar Pari, he saw everybody running. Amar Leise said, Lama, he said to Rabbi said to Rabbi Lama Klama Pari, why are they all running? Amar Leise said, I'll tell you why. Rabbi Yochanan Dar Yasi Darsh Beis Medrash, the Rebbe Benoya. Rabbi Yochanan is sitting in the Beis Medrash, Rabbi Benoya, the Chol Lama Pari, everybody's running Mishmenei to go hear him because he's such a great speaker. Amar Rabbi said, Brichach Monel Chamli Perin Adon B'chaim. Bless the Kosh Baruch who showed me fruit while I'm still alive. Why? Because I got it to Pashasli, I taught him all he knows in Agadita, not in Lomdis, but in Agadita. Chutzi Mishnah, because except for Mishnah and Koel said I never taught him this. Okay? Stay in Modi B'Kola. If they're both under the possibility of rape, the man takes precedence over the woman. Lama, why? The woman's the derech is that she gets raped. Right? That's what happens. That's life. Whereas, another reason not to teach women Daf Yomi? Men, it's an aberration. Okay? Ma'aseh Rabbi Yeshua, all the Romi went up to Rome. And they said, Yerushalmi, there's a certain child from Yerushalayim, Shat Moni, who had red hair and very nice, beautiful eyes, and he was handsome. And his hair was very fine. There was some curls across his head. And he was in danger of being raped. Right? The boy was in danger of being raped. Rabbi Yeshua came, went to check him out, see what it's like. Came to Shibikila once he got to the opening where he was being held in prison, and then Rabbi Yeshua opened his mouth and said, Mina Salim Shiso Yaakov, who caved over to desecration, the Jews, and Mishnah means ripping apart, Yisrael and Jews to looters, and Am Yisrael to looters. Allah Hashem was not God. And then Atinak V'Amar, so the child opened and responded and said, Zuchatanu lo, it's coming to us, because we sinned him, we did not go in his pathways, so we didn't listen to his Torah. Immediately Rabbi Yeshua started crying. He said, I testify upon myself, heavens and earth, until I redeemed this kid. He redeemed for lots of money. And he sent that to Israel to learn. The Korla Apostle, because they said about him this pasuk, the precious children of Zion. Okay? Halacha, last halacha in this Masechta. Kohen Kodem Levi. A Kohen comes before a Levi. Levi comes before Yisrael in Stucca and stuff like that. Okay? Yisrael comes before Mamzer. Mamzer comes before Gibeonite. Nos in the Mam of Ger, Gibeonite comes before a convert. Right? Because they're JFPs. The Ger Leveshuch, or a convert comes before a released slave. And when the true b'shakul and shavim, it's only if they're all equal in their stature. But if there's a mamzer who's a Talmid Chacham and a Kohen Gadol who's an Am Haaretz, then a mamzer Talmid Chacham Kohen Gadol Am Haaretz, you do what you can for the mamzer, even though it's a Talmid Chacham, because it's Talmid Chacham, even before you do for the Kohen Gadol who's an Am Haaretz. Okay? In terms of the hierarchy, whatever you do to redeem captives, etc. Chacham Kohen Melech. First you redeem the Gedolim, right? Then Melech Kohen Gadol, king before high priest. Kohen Gadol Navi, high priest prior to the prophet. Navi Muhammad, the prophet prior to the anointed Kohen which goes out to war. Moshe Muhammad, the anointed Kohen goes out to war. Kohen Rosh Mishmar comes before the head of the watch. How many watches were there? 24, correct. Rosh Mishmar, the head of the watch, Kohen based off because before the head of the household. How many households was each Mishmar divided into?
There was a situation where
Come on, guys. Because you know this. 7. 1 a day for the course of the week. Okay, you guys all know that. Okay. Says the Gemara, base of Kodel Marko Rosh, base of the base of Kodel Marko, the base of the head of the family comes before the Marko. There was some official in the base on Mikdash. It was like some under secretary. Marko, Kodel Bizkar, the Marko comes before this treasure. Gizbar Kohen, the Kohen Hedio, the treasure comes before the Kohen Hedio, the common Kohen Hedio, Kohen Levi, common Kohen before the Levi Yisrael. Yisrael, Mamzer, Nasi, Nasi Legel. All these are in the Mishnah. Forget 11 Shuchar, and finally, the lowest down totem pole is a released slave. And besides, was the true magical and Trump, where it's only true and they're all equivalent. Mamzer, Talmid Chacham, Kohen Gadol Am Haaretz. So the Mamzer was a Talmid Chacham, and the high priest was an Am Haaretz. So Talmid Chacham, the Talmid Chacham, Kodem Kohen Gadol Am Haaretz. Mamzer, King of Russia. He put the heads before the elders. Yerushua, they should circle him, Yerushua, because he needed Kishorts. I'm not sure what he needed for them for. Not sure. Bnei Moshe says because they distributed Eretz Yisrael based on this Canaan. That's what Bnei Moshe says. Because they're necessary to adjudicate the matter. But and somehow they're more necessary, maybe because of the mitzvah of Shoftim. I don't know exactly. Anyway, since they're more necessary, so therefore Hiktim, Scain of Rosh, he put the elders before the heads. Moshe didn't think learning was hard because he was given to him as a gift, right? Hiktim Rosh Scain, so he put the political leaders before the elders. Yoshua didn't come easy to, so he just came rushing. He put the elders before the heads. Rabbi Shua the Sichnim, B'Shem Reb Levi said another pshat. He said, Moshe saw with divine spirit, he saw the army would be subject to foreign kingdoms, and their political heads would be the ones standing over them to try and counter the adverse effect. Therefore, gave them credit, put them first. Okay? Tani, we learned this also in the Horayos in the Bible, though it's vastly different there than it is over here. Tani, I started calling people. It's better to take somebody who knows a lot than somebody who knows how to say lots of lumnus, right? Knows to give all sorts of analysis. It's better to when you have to choose a position between two people, it's better to take he who knows a lot. Okay?
Even though he doesn't know how to teach.
Even though, well, I don't think that's the case. But even though he doesn't know how to, extrapolate and deal with logic.
Academic knowledge.
Yeah. Okay, academic knowledge is better than technical skill, whatever you want to call it. So says the more Rabbi Shmuel, Choyd Rabbi Brechi Aboy. Shmuel the brother of Rabbi Brechi asked, if you look, Rabbi Ami said true about even Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Ami was not such a big sadron. Right? He didn't know everything so well by heart, but he was a good powerful one. So what about it? So it says Zumara, he retorted to him, Amalei said, "Me boy, Rabbi Ami. What do you have a shiur about Rabbi Ami? It should be who has Sadron, who Pelpulani. He was an expert in both. Of course, you support him. Somebody who was both, even though they don't excel necessarily one. is supported before you sell one individual. It's one before you swear an individual is only one and not the other. Okay? Hadamras teaches us. Now it's not clear how this teaches us. I don't know exactly where we learned this. I guess from the fact we give credit to Sodron that Hadamras teaches us Mishnah Kohen in the Mikra is better than Mishnayos and learning Tanakh. The Dom is silent. And there's a proof to this. It says, Yerushalmi Horayos says, having learned Tanakh, Mido Sheina Mi, that's not a proper measure. You've got to learn Mishnayos. Rabbana Avdi Mikra Commissioner Rabbana said, no, learning Tanakh is the same as learning Mishnah. Might not be superior, but it's the same. Rabbi Shmuel Nachman Mishnah Kohen Mishnah Nachman said, it's better to learn Mishnah over Talmud. Now, obviously, Mishnah back then meant, just some very terse, not even artful Mishnayos, as you will see in a moment. I take that back. I have a reason why I just said that. You'll see on Oma Base. Fascinating Gemara. But anyway, I'm not sure if it's correct, but I just said it anyway. We'll see momentarily. So it said, Mishnah comes before Talmud. My time, why does it say, well, what's possible? It says, Knei Chochma, Knei Bina. It says, first acquire knowledge, that's Mishnah, and then afterwards acquire understanding, that's Talmud, right? Which is, dealing with the logic, or Gemara. Mishnah says, no! Talmud takes precedence over Mishnah. My time, what it says, Knei Chochma, I told me Charutz will acquire knowledge, what is it, how much better it is than diligence. And then it says afterwards, the Pnei Moshe brings on the rest of the pasuk, Uknos Bina. Actually it's better than gold. Sorry. Uknos Bina, and by Charutz here means gold. Uknos Bina, acquiring wisdom, acquiring understanding. Nibcha Mikesef is better than silver. So the way the Kiko Odin learns it says by Chachma Knei, singular. It says by Bina Knos, plural. So therefore he learns Bina is more important than Chachma. Okay? So it says, what does Rabbi Yochanan do with that which Yerushalmi Nachman said from that pasuk of Knei Chachma, Knei Bina, Chachma is better? So it says a fascinating answer. He says, Mayim b'zol v'yayin b'yoker. Right? Water is cheap and wine is precious, but nevertheless, the world can survive without wine. The world cannot survive without water. So therefore, even though Bina is second, that's because it's not as hushed, but it's more imperative, right? Bina is Bainanus. Yeah, according to Rabbi Yochanan. Bina is more important, is more important, right?
One second.
What?
No, we haven't enough time.
How does he learn that Bina is Domel Lamayim?
Yeah, now I'm thinking I was wrong about that. Just a second. Now I'm thinking I'm wrong. Each guy is comparing what he says is more chashuv to the more expensive commodity, not to the more necessary commodity. Yeah, I think that's the case. Each one is sparing his. What Rabbi Yochanan says, look, Bina is more important. Chochma is more basic. So as it's saying, just like wine is more important than water. So that says Knei Chochma because first you need the water, and that's more basic. But what's more choshev? What's more distinguished? Bina. And that's why it says, like water, it says more basic. Wine is more advanced, so too Chachma is more basic, and Bina is more advanced.
Where did Das come into this?
That's at the end. That's the end result. Chachma plus Bina equals Das. Okay, and similarly, What's he do with Rabbi Yochanan? Rabbi Yochanan is supposed to indicate that Bina is more choshev because it says in plural. So he says the opposite is melach is bezol. Salt is cheap, and understanding is like salt. Pilpulin, wisdom, is like knowledge is like peppers. Biyokra, it's expensive. Efshalom mechias below pilpulin, you can survive without pilpul. But Efshalom below melech, it's not possible to survive without salt. So what's the salt? The salt is the bina. That's why it says knos by bina. It's important. It's necessary. It's essential. So it says by a lot of it. But what's really more significant, he says, the pepper, right? The pepper. That's really more significant. I think that's the shot. Okay. Says more advice. You should always run to Mishnah more than Talmud, which means actually that, although it doesn't necessarily mean that it's superior. It could be that Bina's more chosh, like Rabbi Yochanan said, but you should always have to learn more Mishnah because you're forgetting it, right? So therefore you have to always learn Mishnah. Now here's this more fascinating thing. This is what threw me up before. That's before Rebbe put most of the Mishnayos into the Talmud. But once Rebbe put most of the Mishnayos into the Talmud, now you should go after Talmud more than Mishnah. Now that's fascinating. What do you mean Rebbe put the Mishnah into the Talmud, right? Mishnah came first. So I think this is a raya to what Rashi says, and I forget where. It's a famous Rashi, which I don't remember where it is. But it says Rebbe didn't write down the Mishnayos. He just edited them. And later on they're written down. So it sounds like there was a body of knowledge called Talmud, into which Rebbe introduced a terse and edited version of Mishnayos, right? So before that, Mishnayos were brises, right? So the Mishnayos are brises, they're all parts of brises, so you have to spend most of the time learning brises. But now that Rebbe put into the body of knowledge called Talmud, the terse version, oral version still, of the Mishnayos, so now learn the body of knowledge called Talmud over the body of brises and Mishnayos, which existed hitherto. That's what it sounds like from this Gemara. Okay? I forget what Rashi is though. Says the Gemara, Darish Rabbi Shul, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Bun. Shmuel's son Rabbi Yossi, Bun, Darish the following thing, which is a fascinating drasha. Chacham be'enav isha shiur. Smart in his own eyes is a rich man. In other words, he thinks he's smart. But Vidal Mevin, a poor person who's an understanding person, Yach Gerena and that means here will vanquish him or win over him. Chacham be'enav isha shiur, a person who's chacham in his eyes and a rich person, Zebal Talmud. A person who's a big lamdin, knows how to learn very well. He thinks he's a chashva yid, right? He's a chashva rosh yeshiva. But who's going to win him? V'dal mevin yachkerenu, fascinating thing, Zebal Agoda. A person knows Agadata is superior to a person who knows Talmud. It's amazing, right? Never saw that before, did you? I remember. Don't worry, the word's not going to remain with this conclusion. But it's a nice havamina, right? Sounds good. It's like two people enter the city. Biyaza Esther shows up. One guy has coins of gold. That's the Baal Talmud. Of course it's more choshev. But Biyaza Proto, the other guy brings in copper coins. Small denominations. Zeb Shiono Esther shows up. He brings in coins of gold. Eino Moitzi. He doesn't find anybody to make him change or to sell him stuff. He can't exist, right? There should be other protos. He who has the prutos, motzi v'choy, he can spend them out, or exchange them, and he can find sustenance. So maybe in the Baal Agada, obviously he's able to find sustenance, and the pshat here, I guess, is more Yerushalmi when a person's Baal Talmud. It's amazing drasha, okay? Because normally we see a stress more on halacha, but he's stressing more on Gadata, okay? Says a few other drashas like this. Rabbi Yacha expounded. Peles, which is a balance beam, Muslim Mishnah, another type of scale. I'm not sure what the difference is. La Hashem, they're both to God. Maseh, its deeds, Kolam Nekis, are all the stones of the pocket. The stones here, of course, versus the weights and measures. But we dash like this: Peles, the balance beams, and because that's the balance that's Tanakh. Maznei, the more serious scales, that Mishnah, that's Mishnais. Mishpat, judgment, Zat Talmud, that's Gemara. La Hashem, it's to Hashem, Zat Tosfos here means the Tosefta, the prices. Maaseh Kol Avnei Kis, its deeds are all the stones of the pocket. Kulam Nadim Schar Mikis Avon. Nice Gemara. Everybody that's word from the same pocket. In other words, whatever you learn, it's good. Right? All the reward comes from the same pocket. Okay? Rabbi Abarkana went to a certain place. Ashkel Rabbi Levi Yosef Dashing Dorish found Rabbi Levi singing and dashing. Isha Shaitain Lo Elokim Aisher Nechasim Mechava. The certain individual who God will give him riches and property and honor. And then Nechasim Nafsho because she's very knows and lack anything he desires. For Lo Yishleiten Elokim Lachom Imenu. But God will not allow him to eat from it. Because somebody else will eat it. Osher, what's riches and mikra? That's Tanakh. The chazim property, that's halacha. The covenant honors, that taste, that's the prices. Somebody doesn't lack anything in his lives. Those are large bodies of mishnayos. And it's interesting, large bodies of mishnayos means prices which have been edited. Not like Rebbe's prices, which became mishnayos. These are the edited prices like the Toseftos. These are three versions of mishnayos. We're familiar with the prices Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yesha. See, this is another version of the prices called Rabbi Bar Kapara's version, right? God will not give him the capacity to eat from it. Now this drasha, it casts dispersion in the Balagora. Before we gave him great praise, but now we denigrate him. We say, Balagada, Sheina lo oser lo mati, we can't say oser nor mutter, lo matam, lo matari, can't say tome or tar, kish tarchia chleno. So who's going to consume everything? Said Bala Talmud. The guy who learns Talmud, he's superior because he encompasses and transcends all the previous categories. Okay? Come Rabbi Abba Bakana, Rabbi Abba Bakana says, cut up, and Nashkarishan kissed him on his head. He said, Amrei Zachisa, he said, because he was a young time, he said, Zachisa Merminei Akim, you said this when you were standing, he was really sitting, but it means when you were young. Zachi Tiske Merminei Mesa, may you merit saying when you were sitting, meaning may you merit to continue to say such beautiful drushes when you become old. This is also totally Yerushalmi, no Bavli, like whatever, Bavli is no such question. When you want to appoint elders to this to be rabbis, make a mind from where's the best crop from, where are the sharpest people, where are the litvax. So where are the litvax of the Yerushalmi? Says Gemara, Mitveria and Mitroima, from Tveria, from the south. South meaning Lud, because nobody's living in Shleim in the town, but Lud and those environments. Says Gemara, Rabbi Simon, who's from Lud, said Yehuda Yaleh. Says Yehuda goes up first, right? And Yehuda is the zone in the south of Eretz Yisrael, right? Whereas it should be Rabbi Ami, tried to so change it. That's the God to war. We're not talking about going out to war. It's to go out to war. Beginning of Sefer Shoftim, it says you just go out first to war. But we're not talking about war. We're talking about to a point as a chacham, to a point as a chacham. Those who see the king who sit first in the kingdom. So where's the king? Where's the Sanhedrin? Of course. No, the time of the Yerushalmi, Tveria. So he Rabbi Ami was from Tveria. Shocker there, said appoint people from Tveria.
No, Bava was one of the choices.
No, Bava was one of the choices. For Shteitza. Okay? Now, this Gemara we had actually recently, I forget where, Sanhedrin? Oh, no, Vodazora. And Vodazora in Yerushalmi. Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Shov, Levi said, Ma'aser Shinosus came all years, base got you all up, Yericho. The elders once went to the second floor base garden in Yericho. Ain't going there no more. Yes, a Basco of Amra, and a Basco came out and said, Amra said to him, Yesh b'nechem b'shnayim b'nlocha kodesh. The two people among you are suitable for the divine spirit. One of them is Hill the elder. Nos to a name is Shmuel HaKatan. So they looked at Shmuel Katan and decided Shmuel Katan was the second guy. Shum Nichnasus Kainim Laliyah B'Yavne. Another time they came to the second floor in Yavne. Basko B'Amar, and Basko came and said, Amar and said to him, Yesh B'Nei Shtaim Min Kosh. Again, the two people stood Ro Kosh. Shmuel Katan Echem, and one of them is Shmuel Katan. Who was the second one? Nasu Nei Ben Lozer Ben Hurkanus. The other one decided to Lozer Ben Hurkanus. They were happy that their initial impression that when the first Basko came down, that the second one besides Hillel was Shmuel Katan, was substantiated by the second Basko. Okay? Even the Barpazi, the Baroshia. Those, now it says your Shabbos, we had this once before, but I don't remember it from there. In the Barpazi, Rabbi Yeshua, members of the families of Barpazi and Baroshia, they went to inquire the health of the Nasi every day. Those from the house of Rabbi Yeshua would go, or Baroshia would go, only Kadmoi as they were going first. As in the Barpazi, so the people of the house of Barpazi went, so they went and married into the Nasi's family. So now they were relatives, so they figured now they have the right to go in first, right? Asum Boy Melu Kadamai, they came and wanted to go in first. Asum Shalom Rabbi Yami, so came and asked Rabbi Yami who goes in first. So Rabbi Yami said, Fakimois the Mishkan says, set up the Mishkan Kamishpato as was its arrangement, or as was its judgment. Yesh Mishpat Leitim, this is a judgment for pieces of wood. There were beams. This means it was its judgment. Ella, rather, Ezer Keresh, Zochli Nasim Mitzafon, whatever beam was on the north last time, Nasim Mitzafon should always be on north this time. Medorim, whatever beam was on the south last time, Nasim Medorim is put on the south last time. So therefore, whoever went in first before retains the right. Even though Barpazi married into the Nasi's family, Rabbi Yeshua's family goes first because that was their right which they retained from previously. I forget it was the Chatzim Sefer, I think, learns from this Gemara. It's a Keresh Yinas on the Safon, Yinas and Lolam, but Safon, that you always put the beams on the same place, so your tzitzis should always wear the same way. The same front, forward, and the same side up. Because, you follow the pattern which pre-exists. That's the Vinik is to tell the front. The Vinik and the extra, but I mean the extra piece of material, the corners. Yeah, whatever it goes. Okay. Says Tatin Zayin B'Tziporin, and a similar story, but with a different conclusion. There are two families in Tziporin, Balvataya Ufagnaya. Whatever the Capulets and the, what are they? What? Okay. Have Am Sham Sham the Sai can see a koyim. They went to inquire the health of Nasi every day. Balvataya only Kadmoi. The Balvataya went in first. V'nafke. They will go first, and Nafke might come out first. Azu Pagnaya, so the guys from Pagnaya went, the Zochel rice, and they learned a lot of Torah. Asun Bon Meo Kadmoy, so they came and wanted to go on first. Ishatzer Shem Lokish, Ishatzer Shem Lokish. Who goes first? Now, before we learned that, whoever went first in the past, could just go first now, right? But here it's different. Shol Shem Lokish, Rabbi Yechon, and Rabbi Shem Lokish, Rabbi Yechon, or Rabbi Yechon, Darsha Beis Midrash, or Rabbi Benoya. Rabbi Yechon went to Darshan the Beis Medrash Rabbi Noya. Remember we learned that a while ago. That's where he Darshan Agadita. Afilu Mamzer Tam B'Chacham Kohen Gadol Ha'Maretz, even a Mamzer Tam B'Chacham, and Kohen Gadol Ha'Maretz Mamzer Tam B'Chacham Kohen Gadol Ha'Maretz, and here too Torah gives precedence. Family relations don't give precedence, but Torah gives precedence. Sarvin Meimar initially that thought that was before Rabbi Yochanan Darshan this that. The precedence is not in honors, but in practical things. The Podos, the Mamzer Tamuchom is redeemed first. Lachios, he's sustained first. Lachasos, he's given the clothing first. So the yeshiva low, but not in terms of the precedence and where you sit, etc. Rabun said, Afli yeshiva. So to a precedence in where you sit, etc. Matar Pasuk said, teach us this. It's more precious than pearls. Even from he who goes in the sanctum sanctorum, the Kohen Gadol, Talmid Chacham is superior unto him. Hajloch Kohen Mashiach Shechata, Tzlicha Maseches Horayos, Kula Sidra Tisakin. And we'll leave the Hadron for a week and a half from now. We're on track, Rabbi. So if you do 2 6 days, and we have left 2 blot a night, we finish no problem.